This is going to be my reaction video to the Ravens 24-20 loss to the Giants in Week 6. A really shocking finish. If you just watch the gameplay for the first 2.5 to 3 quarters, and you maybe separated yourself from the jersey colors and the names on the back or the front of the jersey. If you just watched the first 3 quarters, you saw a team totally outplay the Giants on the road. I mean, that's just a fact. And if you look at the statistics after the game, you can see that a really shocking finish, even for a team that's blown two significant leads early in the season, that you could kind of attribute to the defense being unable to stop people. This one's a little different. It's more of a complete blame for the entire team, players and coaches. And there's nothing wrong with being angry or upset or disappointed. Certainly not me. I mean, I'm angry. It took me a couple of minutes to get over we reject losing. You reject losing because it's not a part of your own individual character, whoever you are, right? And then as a fan base, as a team, as an organization, you reject losing because it's not a part of who the Ravens are. It's not a part of who Lamar Jackson's ever been. So we reject it, and so we get angry, and that makes sense, get pissed off. Look, if the Giants had lost, if we had won, Giants fans would be angry and pissed off because at their point coming into the game, they're 4-1. They're winners. They're winning games. That's sports. That's what makes it fun and worthwhile, right? It's also what makes it frustrating. For me personally, like in my coaching experience, which is nowhere near that level, it's one of the most fun times of the year is like late fall, and I mean like early November, somewhere around there, because you get to put someone out of the playoffs. If you know this, you know, and if you don't, you don't. That's when you get to end someone's season on like a Friday night or a Saturday afternoon, depending on when you played your games, and you see the other team leave all pissed off and angry, and it's cold while you're moving on to the next round. It happens in every sport, but there's something about football and that happening in the late fall when it's about to be cold, or it already is cold, depending on where you live in the country, and you watch that other team leave shivering and angry at everyone. And right now, that's who we are as Ravens fans. We're angry at everyone. We're angry at our team. We're angry at our coaches. We're angry at each other. In our Discord, people were popping off, and it was like, hey, cool down, But to me, the Ravens look like one of those teams that's going to have to get on the bus, angry and pissed off at each other, and drive home in the cold after getting put out. Yeah, I mean, could we very easily be 6-0? Yeah, sure, of course. We're 3-3. That's who we are. And we're sporting those three losses by a combined 11 points. Let me bring us down to earth just a little bit. The Bengals are in the same boat. They're 3-3. And their scoring differential is plus 23. So the Bengals have scored 138 points by my math, and they've given up 115. Really not that different from our 158 to 141. Right? We're scoring more and we're giving up more. So we're plus 17, they're plus 23, and we're both 3-3. But here's the reality for both of those teams. The margin for error is just not that big. Neither is the Bengals. Neither is anyone in our division. Like, look at the NFC East, the quality of teams they've got there, and look at the AFC North. It's not 2012. It's not 2008. The margin for error for the AFC North teams, for whatever reason, is just not that big. So that means it's going to be a dogfight till the end in terms of who wins the division and who else gets in. This is a bad loss, because it exposed some things we don't want to admit as Ravens fans. What it exposed is, even when our best players, our defense, our offense, Lamar, whoever, when we're in control for 70% of the game, it seems like the differential in score doesn't match up with that gameplay. Now, of course, we missed Bateman because we got no chunk plays in the pass game or even the threat of it. But we chewed up that Giants defense today. 7 yards per play, 406 or 408 total yards, 211 on the ground. Averaged 8.8 per carry on the ground. Having said all of that control that we had, all of that impressive movement of the ball, we look like a team headed for a second-round exit, or even one that has to go to Cincinnati in the last week of the season and win in order to make the playoffs. That's how challenging the NFL season is, or really how challenging a 60-minute game is. All right, for real, it's a 60-minute game, which is different than most other levels of football. If NFL games were only like 50 minutes long, the Ravens are like 5-1 right now, maybe 6-0. Is there a move, personnel-wise, that we can make to help us get over that hump and close out games? I mean, I don't know. Is it a wide receiver? Is it a slot corner? Because wide receiver today was an issue, and I thought the commentators were great. I forget who the the color commentator was. I thought he was fantastic. I thought he was all over everything. It's other guys that get way more credit as color commentators, Romo and some other guys, but who I can't remember who it was today, to be honest with you. Let me know in the comment section. I thought he was all over everything, and he talked about us not targeting the wide receivers. So yeah, it's an issue, especially with Bateman out. But like slot corner to me also sticks out because we were shut down today, totally. Defense. We were a shutdown defense against this Giants team. But they kept targeting the slot corner. Marlon and Marcus Peters are blanketing people in most cases. I know Peters had a pass interference penalty later. But in my humble opinion, we need to improve the roster somehow by trade if we want to try to win this year. And I said this last year about the left tackle position, but last year was such a messed up situation with the injuries. I forget who it was on Twitter said, 2021 really can't be held against Lamar, kind of can't be held against anybody in our organization because of how historical all the injuries were, and I agree with that. Having said that, this is the second year in a row now where I think we need to look at improving the roster mid-season. Whether that's a wide receiver, whether it's a slot corner, I'd be fine with either one of those. But I think there's systemic problems showing up as well. And some of them you're probably not going to like. I'm a Lamar Jackson fan, but we turn the ball over a lot. We just do. We turn the ball over at critical times today, and some of it is coach's fault, and sometimes it's Lamar's fault. Just admit it. That was a horrible interception today. Sometimes other turnovers is another player's fault, right? Maybe it's an offensive lineman's fault for not pass protecting well. That's systemic. What I mean by systemic is it's widespread. It's not just the coaches. It's not just Lamar. It's not just the receivers. It's widespread. Another thing is we abandon what's working at times. I mean, offensively. We're running the ball well, like I said, almost 9 yards a carry today. And then somehow we just stop doing so when we're bullying the defense. Look, I like the Giants defense. If you're listening and you're a Giants fan, I'm generally going to focus on the Ravens here, but I like the football team they're assembling there. They play hard. They're very good. They're moving in the right direction. They're winning tough games, close games. So you love their style. They don't give in. They don't fold up like the Ravens did, in the last 2 minutes. Once the Giants took the lead and we went out there for that final drive, 2 minutes left, 3 timeouts, need a touchdown, we looked done. We looked done. But going back to my point about abandoning what's working. So don't take offense if you're a Giants fan. Ravens were running the ball down their throat. They really were. They should have kept leaning on them in the end zone when there's no evidence that they were able to stop the run. And our scheme gave the Giants real problems, I thought. And then we went away from it in 2 critical situations, and I'll talk about them later. The 4th and the 6th possessions. Those ended up being field goals that put us up 10-7 and then 13-7. The 13-7 lead was early in the third quarter. You also had a missed field goal by Tucker early. It was a long field goal, I think 56-yarder. And then another possession where we're in field goal range. That was the first possession, and that one was hurtful. And in our Discord, I don't think some guys liked the way I said it. It's 3rd and 8, I believe, and we go QB counter read, and Lamar misreads it. He should give the ball to Drake. Drake literally has the boundary with no one there. The DN steps down to Lamar, and he keeps it, and we end up in a 2-yard tackle for loss. We could have walked out of that stadium with 31 or 34 points today easily if we were smooth, didn't have 10 penalties, didn't turn the ball over, with the way our offensive line, tight ends, and fullbacks played, and the way our D-line and linebackers played. Instead, we end up with 20 points, and we fall apart in the final 10 minutes in really, really embarrassing fashion. The way the reaction videos normally work is I talk about the first half and just my impressions independent of the way the game finished, so that's what I'll do now. So what I mean is I have my notes that I wrote, and I'm going to read out. You guys can probably hear me clicking on my second monitor here. So I'm going to read my impressions at the halftime and then go to the second half analysis and kind of talk about the 4th and the 6th possessions together. So at halftime, I wrote down the Ravens are able to execute multiple concepts in a run and pass game, but only take a 10-7 lead into halftime. Giants hung around with very little offensive production on their own. The Ravens missed a field goal. I think I had it 56 or 58 yard or something like that. And then we had another possession where we're in field goal range. And again, that was the first one. It's a misread by Lamar. We had the 4th possession. We reach the 16-yard line, had 3 passes that got us nothing. Oliver had an amazing catch earlier. He had a 4 or 6 yard catch on 1st and 10 that they reviewed, and it was determined to be incomplete. I thought Duve was kind of open versus a cover 2 zone, and initially I thought the throw was a little high, but I couldn't tell. You didn't get an instant replay or anything. seemed to recall Lamar having some pressure and having to get the ball off maybe a little sooner than he wanted to. If he'd had another split second, maybe he could have got it to do for a touchdown back left corner of the end zone. I thought the announcers correctly identified many of the patterns and tendencies in the game flow. I thought they did a great job. Andrews had his hands on the ball on the next play, a 3rd and 10, near the marker or the line to gain, and the ball bounced off. Was the throw slightly high? I mean, I guess, but it's a ball that Andrews can catch. Lamar had hit Andrews for 18 and 16 yards on that drive. Again, I'm talking about the fourth drive. And then we had a slant where Duve was open, but a Giants D tackle got his hand and tipped it on that fourth drive. So, like, to me, I'm watching the gameplay at that point, and that fourth possession, I'm like, man, we're running the ball on him. We're throwing the ball on him. Andrews for 18, Andrews for 16. Duve was open on that slant. The ball got tipped by a Giants D tackle, so great play by him. But the slant backside was there multiple times today. We didn't get it done, I think, only once to Robinson. The Giants have just not defended multiple concepts to this point. Tight ends, Andrews, likely. Oliver getting open in the middle of the field. And that was an area that Wink didn't defend during his tenure here with the Ravens. He just didn't. He's playing man-free, bringing 5 a lot, and there's no low-hole dropper, which is essentially between the hashes, 6 to 12 yards deep, and people tore us up in that area, and the Ravens did that today to him. Ravens had a lot of yards at halftime, including Drake's touchdown run to make it 7-0. It was a power play with Ricard on the kick out, great block, and Powers on the pull. Drake was gone. He looked like energetic today, great legs, great burst. Giants did have an answer on their next possession, which I thought was huge for them. You know, we go up 7-0. They get the big kickoff return by Gary Brightwell. I hope I'm saying his name right. I want to make sure I'm, being accurate. It was like a return to almost midfield. The run game wasn't doing much for the Giants at this point. And Jones, hey, credit to Jones. Like, I don't know about you, but I always root for guys that get kind of like criticized, whether it's justly or unjustly. And Daniel Jones, man, he had like 2 huge third down completions on this drive. I'm talking about the Ravens are up 7-0, like early second quarter, early to mid-second quarter. He converts a 3rd and 14, then a 3rd and 12. And the second one was like a China in or a whip route by Wandale Robinson, the rookie from Kentucky, that convert to 3rd and 12. Then on the 3rd and 4, surprise, surprise, the Giants go bunch. And we play man. They run a pick or rub concept for an easy touchdown 7-7. If you're a Giants fan and you're listening now, that is your future because that's what Wink Martindale does too. Against bunch, he plays man, and people run pick or rub concepts down near the goal line. So look for that if you're a Giants fan. And if not, then that means Wink has evolved some because that was something that was frustrating for Ravens fans for 2 or 3 years. And it's still frustrating because it's carried over to Mike McDonald as the DC. That's what people do on 3rd and 4, especially down near the goal line against us. Giants got the ball to start the third quarter. Ravens defense stood up, got a stop. And then the Ravens are just ripping off runs in the third quarter. Get down to the goal line. And this is the part where I'm going to digress a little bit. I believe this is the 6th possession for the Ravens. And I'm going to refer back a little bit here. So I've got 2 possessions up on the screen right now. Hopefully you guys can see them well. The 4th one is the one that I referenced earlier, where we end up with a pass going off Andrews' hands, maybe slightly high but catchable. Then that was a 3rd and 10 on the 4th possession. Then the 2nd and 10, the previous play, pass to Duvernay a little bit high on a corner route. The previous play to that, the first 10 to Oliver, which was a 4-yard catch apparently, and then was reviewed to be incomplete, which was accurate. So we get down to the 16 and we throw the ball 3 times in a row. Now, granted, we did have 2 big throws to Andrews on that possession, but it's kind of like looking at it in hindsight. If we want to judge our coaches harshly, which we do, we lost. It's like we're not running the ball at all down there. And then here's my question: the first touchdown, when Drake runs it in from 30, what if it wasn't a 30-yard run? What if he got tackled on the 8? Do you think we score? You guys know what I mean? Like if we're first and goal from the 8, are we just all passes from that standpoint? How is that different from this 4th possession? You understand what I'm saying? Drake, look at 2 plays prior to Oliver's catch that was reviewed up at the top. 1st and 10 from the -36. I don't have the personnel in the formation. I think the Ravens were going a little hurry up. Drake with a big run left side for 30. So we had a big run on that drive, and then we just stopped. Yeah, we ended up getting a field goal to go up 10-7. Missed opportunity, especially when you think about the missed field goal earlier, and then the first possession where, again, it's 3rd and 8 from the 36, and we run QB counter read, and Lamar misreads it, keeps it, he should give it, and we end up getting tackled for loss when it should have been either a first down or us kicking a field goal from about the 33 or the 32. All right, so fast forward, third quarter, Ravens defense gets a stop on the Giants. Now you got the sixth possession. I think the sixth. We're up 10-7. And you got first play, Drake for 21, Andrews for 14, and then Andrews for 18, and then Lamar for 8 on a QB power read. I mean, good God, we're gashing them. Pass incomplete to Duve on 2nd and 2. Andrews. Now I messed up somewhere. I think that where it says pass incomplete to Duve, right to left, drift back. I think that should have been a 1st and goal. So I have Lamar as an 8-yard gain from the 16-yard line. Looks like to me, by my math, that should have been an 11-yard gain. You know, the 1st and 10 from the 16, and the very next place says 2nd and 2 from the 5. So I initially had it as a +8, 8-yard gain by Lamar. It looks like it must have been 11. So creating a 1st and goal from the 5, and what do? 3 straight throws. I know the field is condensed, and we get the benefit of hindsight here, but, I mean, looking back, certainly seems like we could have maybe run the ball. And again, it goes back to we're outplaying the Giants for large, because what do the Giants want to do? They want to run the football. Well, we're stopping it at that point. And today, Barkley's longest run was 8 yards. So the defense did a great job on Barkley. So to the point where we go up 13-7, they have not been able to establish their main weapon, Barkley. They've been able to do complementary things, right? Good for them. We have everything working for us. So 60, 70% of the game, something like that, we have everything available to us offensively, and it's working, and we're still settling for field goals. I don't know why that is. I'm not going to blame Lamar for all of that. He plays a role in it, though. You know, when there's certain balls that are 2 foot high or a foot high that needs to be in a guy's hands, you know, maybe we say that one is his fault. I'm not sure. I am the biggest Lamar fan in here, believe me, and want him to win more than anyone. So it brings me no joy to say those things. So, you know, that is where some of my analysis kind of stops. From the 4th and 6th possession onward, the Giants are able to even out the gameplay. Well, we still go into the 4th quarter with the lead and then fall apart. You shouldn't have to, your margin should be a little higher. We're up 20-10 after the touchdown to Andrews on our 7th possession, which I believe is early 4th quarter, right? Go up 20-10, 12:54 left in the game. The Giants are able to go down, convert 2 third downs, one of which I believe was converted by a penalty, or maybe that was the next drive, to make it 20-17. The tight end gets the touchdown on the play where it looked like Bynes was, for whatever reason, passing off the tight end to Chuck Clark, and, you know, for whatever reason, Clark wasn't able to take him over, or Bynes didn't stick with the tight end, which normally he does on play-action concepts. And then the interception by Lamar with 6 minutes left. I mean, that is a horrible decision by him. I'm going to backtrack in a moment and talk about what I think is also a coaching mistake there. It's a horrible decision. Like, guys, it is. I mean, it's a 3rd and 6. He's trying to get the first down. We're up 20-17. I understand it. At that point, there's probably like 4.5 minutes left, maybe 4 minutes. So we're up 20-17, 3rd and 6 after the penalty, and he throws a pick. Horrible decision. Backtrack, though. It's a 3rd and 1. We pick up the first down on a QB sneak, and we get called for a penalty. Now, I haven't seen the formation, but even in my notes that I wrote here, I'm typing as the game goes on. I typed tight end off the line because it looked like to me the tight end was off the line and Drake or whoever the running back was off the line, meaning 2 of the offenses left outside the tight end, and that they called the penalty on Stanley. It's not actually anything Stanley did wrong. It means the tight end or whoever's supposed to line up on the line outside of Stanley did not do so. Now, here's my criticism. This, to me, is a larger point than Lamar's interception, even though that's a bad decision. Coaches up top need to see that. Like, you can see it. I saw it watching the game, and I don't have an elevated view. I've got it is an elevated view, but it's a TV view. The coaches are up even higher. In my opinion, they're at an even more severe angle, but I could be wrong on that. I'm not sure about that stadium and who's up higher. Maybe they're on the same level. So if I could see it from the TV angle, they could see it. And what you say on the headset is, Coach, we need a timeout. I would say it. You would say it 20 times louder than that because there's thousands of people in the stadium. It's a huge moment in the game, and the intensity of your voice and how loud you are in that instant lets the head coach know on the headset, he's serious, I need to call a timeout. And the coach doesn't ask why, because he trusts you. And to me, that is a larger point, because this is not the first time this has happened. That first down, does it close out the game? I mean, I don't know. Like guys, yeah, it seems like it would analytically or whatever, or situationally, but the way the Ravens fell apart in the next however many minutes, how can we say that would close the game out? How can we say something else crazy wouldn't have happened? We certainly seem to be in control, 20-17, 3rd and 1, and that penalty, it turns it into a 3rd and 6, and we throw a pick. Horrible decision by Lamar, guys. Like, we're all Lamar fans, but that was terrible. And he's got to grow from that, period. He's got to understand that I just throw the ball away, and we punt, and our defense has to get a stop. You cannot turn the ball over on your own side of the 50. You just can't. You just can't. Me personally being a coach, my blame, the way that I identify with the game, is more so with the coaches for not calling timeout prior to that illegal formation. Your blame may be a higher percentage on Lamar, because maybe your connection to the game isn't from the same angle as mine. No problem. I don't reject yours. I'm just telling you that me personally, the way that I feel like I would have been able to impact it as a coach is tell the head coach with some choice words, call a blank timeout. And he calls it, and then after the timeout, he asks you why, and you tell him. Later on, he goes back and he looks at the film after you've won the game. He goes back and looks at the film and he recognizes, oh, you saved us from a potential penalty that would have given the ball back to the other team. So there's two things that happen there. One, in my opinion, I blame on coaching. The 3rd and 1, the penalty. Us lining up improperly and no coach identifying it. And I could be wrong. I think it was I know it was to the offense's left. I believe that was the Ravens sideline, but I might be wrong on that. So I'll have to take a look at the film tonight and tomorrow. If it's to the Ravens sideline, a Ravens coach has got to see that now. Like, you don't need a coach up top to tell you. Now, if it was to the Giants sideline, then, all bets are off in terms of that. Still, a coach up top could have been able to help him identify it. Then, things get crazy. We're up 20-17, and we kind of just fell apart. The Giants convert a 3rd and 3 on that interception by Peters. If you want to sit here and blame Marcus Peters, go right ahead. But, I'm a competitor. Marcus Peters a competitor. That receiver was they were competing. Marcus Peters held too long. It's a good call. He was competing. He was trying to make a play. They're both hand fighting. Marcus just held a little bit too long. You know what? I would trust him in that situation 5 seconds from now. I would trust him immediately again. 3rd and 3 from the 7. If we get a stop, we force them to kick the field goal. As it is, gives them a 1st and goal, and Barkley leaps in for the touchdown. Good for the Giants, all right? Let's just separate ourselves from the Ravens for a second. They've been down for a long time. Saquon Barkley's dealt with injuries for a long time, where people said things about him. Daniel Jones has been criticized justly or unjustly, whatever. People have said tons of things about him. Those guys are now 5-1. Give them credit. Good for them. I can separate myself from it a little bit as a fan and hopefully look at it as an analyst or coach, and good for them. Could we be them? Yeah, we could be 4-2 or 5-1. We absolutely could. But in some of these key situations, we're not executing, or we're committing penalties, or we're just doing careless things with the football. And I'm talking about Lamar. Now, the final possession, 2 minutes left, and we fumble it away. Whatever. I mean, I don't even know, where the pressure came from. I didn't get a chance to see it. I do know that, we have the talent to win. I do know that we have a game next week against the Browns. And that we cannot play the way we played this whole 60 minutes and beat a good NFL football team. Too many failed situations. 10 penalties. That is inexcusable. Coaches have to take responsibility for that. Have to. Lamar has to take responsibility for the interception. Has to. I know that he will. I know he wants to be great, right? Couple of comments. Last year we were an incomplete football team, because of personnel, right? And lack of ability. This year we're like an incomplete football team because of consistency and execution. That's the scary part. I don't know if people get a pass for last year, but if there ever was to get the time to get a pass, it would be last year with all the injuries, right? Like me personally, I don't judge Lamar harshly for the stats that he put up when it was a season where, he had basically, no help. He had no offensive line and running backs was all gone. Coaches included, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. This is lack of execution and consistency by everybody, coaches and players, all of them. The lack of separation when we're outplaying someone is alarming. You shouldn't have to outplay someone by such a huge differential to only get up by 2 scores. You know what I mean? To only get up 20-10. At that point, it should be 24-10 or even 27-10, something like that. Look, I got to tell you something too. I think there's some similarities between Jones and Lamar, and some of you aren't going to like that comparison. Like, Jones got a ton of criticism and was able to come back today during the game and make some throws and keep his team in it. Right? Lamar has had to deal with that as well, even though he's way more talented than Jones and has had a lot more success, clearly. The difference for today, at least, is Jones didn't turn the football over. Lamar's got to not turn the football over. Like, that's what he's got to do. We got 2 turnovers today. We had an interception last week against the Bengals that was it's not a well-thrown ball. It just was not. And that's something that's got to be fixed. The coaches have got to fix certain things too. How are we running for 8.5 yards per carry and not winning the football game? How do you have 406 yards of offense, 23 first downs, 13 on the ground, I think 13 first downs on the ground, 10 through the pass game, and not win the game? Well, here's how. You get down to the 16 and the 5, and you don't go with what's working. To me, that's coaching. That's a coaching decision. Let's be critical of the coaches. No doubt, we should be. Where do we go from here as a Ravens fan base? Like, clearly, next week's game is incredibly important. We got to beat the Browns. They're a similar threat to the Giants. And don't take offense here if you're a Giants fan and you're still listening. Like, I love the team you guys have and the grit and the toughness. All right, I think I've kind of made that clear. But the Browns and the Giants are teams where you got to stop the run first and then worry about the quarterback situations after that, since you've dictated to them, hey, we're able to stop the run, so you're not going to do that. The Ravens shut down Barkley today, clearly. But he still had an impact, and I'm going to talk about 2 situations. Statistically, he had the impact with the game-winning touchdown. Then he could have had another touchdown, which makes 0 sense to me why he didn't score. You go up 31-20 with like a minute and 10 left. Why not? It's an 11-point lead as opposed to a 4-point lead. I understand, victory formation and all that, but I want you to score and go up 31-20. Anyway, even earlier than those situations, Barkley still had an impact, and I want to talk about it because there was a lot of complaints online and even in our Discord about it. On a lot of the crossing routes that the Giants are running, Barkley's sitting underneath the linebacker level or the second level. So that's holding those guys close. So if Barkley's targeted, they can collapse on him. And what that does is it kind of holds them, and then the over route, hits over the top of the second level. That's what we do. The Ravens offense, we do that with Mark Andrews. We do it on play action, right? And we throw over the top of the linebacker level. Give the Giants credit. Give Barkley credit. Give Jones credit. They essentially ran high-low concepts repeatedly with Barkley underneath, the linebackers not necessarily jumping it, but at least playing shallow and then throwing it over the top. Browns have a similar structure. They got a high-level running back, an all-pro type running back, and that's what Barkley is. Like, for me personally, it's good to see. I'm glad to see him playing well. I didn't want him to have the game-winning touchdown today, but I'm just glad to see the guy playing well, man. He's a high-level talent. He's blessed, and I'm glad that he gets to show us how much he's blessed. Because that's what skills and athletic ability is. It's being blessed and then being able to show people how you've been blessed. Give the Giants credit, all right? Browns have a similar structure. So can we stop the run? Can we slow them down? Yeah, it appears as if we can. But can we close out the game? I don't know at this point. I don't know. You shouldn't have to outplay someone by so much in order to only win the game by 4 or only win the game by 7 or whatever we could have won the game by if we don't turn the ball over twice. Because let's be honest, if we don't turn the ball over twice in the last 4 minutes of game, we either win that football game or win overtime. Maybe the answer is another high-level wide receiver to make some plays. But I don't know how that fixes the red zone offense. Like, it's still an issue once we get down there. I mean, are we going to suddenly hit 50-yard bombs all the time? I don't know. I mean, we missed one or two last week against the Bengals, right? So I don't know if another high-level wide receiver does that. Are we going to go 11 personnel a whole bunch? No, we're not. We shouldn't. What we're doing is working. I don't care if we do it with the pass or the run. Maybe a slot corner is the answer. Because Humphrey and Peters are playing at a high level, getting next to 0 targets for the whole game, and people are still coming back against our slot corners and our nickel DBs. Let me know what you think, of my thoughts about this game. Me kind of projecting forward. We're going to be in the same situation next week with the Browns. We're probably going to stop the run. We're probably going to be in control of the game mid-third quarter. How many times is a guy going to be able to attack our slot corners or over the middle and us not be able to stop it? when we had our most success with this group of players, even though, a lot of guys are different. 2019, we had Jimmy Smith for most of the year. I think he played 14 games that year, maybe 12, but he didn't play in the playoffs, if I remember correct. We had Marcus Peters and we had Marlon Humphrey. 3 guys who could play. We need a third guy. I like Pepe Williams. If we're going to win games against good teams like the Bills, Bengals, and now the Giants, who are a good team, we need better play from our slot corners. Just a fact. So wide receiver, slot corner, I'm fine with either one of them, or I'm fine with both. Let me know what you think the Ravens can do better, or how we can react differently the next time we're in this situation, how we can be more consistent to get a win next week against the Browns. Because, at this point, we're outplaying teams for most of the game. And it only takes 8, 10, 12 minutes of gameplay of us being outplayed to forfeit the lead and just kind of crumble. And if that's the kind of team that we're going to be, for 17 games, there'll be a night. It won't be in the fall, but there'll be a night where we're unable to handle that pressure for 60 minutes. And we'll be in a situation that's still unfamiliar to us as Ravens fans, where we've got to pack up our stuff, get on the bus, and go home because our season is over. It doesn't sound fun for me. It doesn't sound fun for you to hear, I'm sure. It wasn't fun for me to make this video for real. We are a better team than this. We have the potential to be a better team than this. Let me know where you think this team can improve the quickest in terms of personnel-wise, and let me know how you think this team can improve foundationally in terms of execution and not turning the football over. Appreciate you guys' time. Let me know what you think of the video in the comment section.